Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by showing you how you can rent a Tesla Model 3 like this one from Hertz. I want to show you what the process of renting a Tesla is like, where you can get them, how much it costs, basically the entire experience. But first, let's go back to yesterday. You may have heard recently that Hertz sent Tesla's market value over $1 trillion after the car rental company ordered 100,000 Tesla electric vehicles. Although Elon Musk has tweeted no deal has been made, Hertz announced that Tesla has begun shipping its initial order of EVs. Hertz's goal over the next year is to make 20% of its fleet EVs, and they're slowly rolling out Teslas as a rental option, mainly in California, Texas, and at airports in major US and European cities. I was able to rent one of the first Hertz Teslas in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and here's how you might be able to as well, depending on where you are. So renting this Tesla Model 3 was pretty easy actually. Online it took me a little bit of time to find where I could actually rent one of these cars. Turns out they are available in a lot of major cities, but in a lot of major cities they're only available at the airport or at their main hub for rental cars. So I was able to find one, and once I booked it, it was pretty much your standard rental car booking procedure like you would do online for any rental car. So I booked this car about 2 weeks in advance, and when I showed up to the airport to pick it up, they were all pretty surprised that I got such a good deal on the car. Normally the rate for these cars is about $200 per day. So a Model 3 you can expect it to run about $200 a day as a rental, but I was able to get it for $72. I didn't do no tricks, no membership, nothing like that. Guess it was just my luck. So they were pretty surprised about that. And then the process of actually getting the car was pretty much like getting any other rental car, although you could tell their procedure was still not updated really for electric cars versus gas cars, because they did ask me if I wanted to pay extra to have it topped off when I brought the car back. And I was like, well, do I have to bring it back charged? And they were like, oh no, there's a charging station right around here. So I figured that's not an issue, and I think it's just part of their procedure, just the routine questions that they ask. So that was kind of funny. But otherwise, I just picked up the car, and basically I thought they would give me some kind of tutorial on how to drive a Tesla in case I had never been in a Tesla before, because it is so different than driving most other cars, most gas powered cars especially. I mean, you don't have the typical controls on the steering wheel, and you've just got to control everything through the screen. All of those things I thought they would do a walkthrough, so they didn't. And that was pretty surprising, but fortunately they do send you about 4 or 5 emails on how to drive a Model 3. So you get those emails and it shows you how to turn the car on, how to put it into drive, reverse, park, all of those things. But I would say if you've never driven a Model 3 before, what you want to do is make sure that you get comfortable with the controls before you even leave the parking lot. Make sure you know how to turn the windshield wipers on and off, because it might be a rainy day like it is today. Make sure you know how to set the temperature so that the temperature controls are how you like it, so you don't hit the road and then it's too hot or too cold and you end up fiddling with the screen when you should be looking at the road. All those things I would just say take a few minutes when you get in the car to get comfortable with, and if you can, watch a couple of YouTube videos and read those emails before you even pick up the car so that you're ready once you jump in the Model 3. So in terms of the insurance, like when you're getting the car, all those things are the same. So if you have the rental insurance on your credit card or separate through your car insurance, all those things are pretty much the same. There wasn't anything different. They did take a $200 deposit, but I don't think that's anything different than they would take for most other cars, especially not a Model 3. I think it's pretty typical. What is interesting though is when I got in the car, I realized that I think this is a pretty brand new car. And when I checked the odometer, it had 916 miles on it. This is the car I got, and the only Tesla model in the area at this location. A black rear-wheel drive Model 3 with a standard range of about 260 miles. So yeah, I feel really lucky to have gotten this great rate on this car, this great rental rate on this car, and also get it before most other people. I mean, it's so brand new and so clean in here. It's just really nice and fun to be in this car. Now, a few other things that are a little bit different when you rent a Model 3 versus another gas-powered car from Hertz. One is it has to be returned to the same place that you picked it up, so no one-way trips. And although there is autopilot enabled on these cars, they have disabled the self-driving feature, so if you wanted to try that out, you're not going to be able to do that in a rental from Hertz. And the keys, they're just waiting for you in the car, but Teslas don't have keys where you put it in the ignition and turn it. Now they have these little cards here that you use, and basically if you keep them on you, It'll allow you to enter the car, and also if you put it right behind the cup holders there, you can turn the car on. All those things you'll know if you've read the emails or you've driven a Model 3 before. You know how it works, but if you haven't before, you definitely want to brush up before you get in the car because it might be a little bit confusing. There are a few other things you might have to get used to if you've never driven a Tesla. First is the trunk, which opens automatically from the screen. Although it says open, it means open the trunk, not that the trunk is open. And the frunk, the extra storage space in the front. To open the door, just push in the thicker part of the handle and pull out. The car should unlock if you've got the key card on you. And in case that doesn't work, you can tap right here on the driver's side to unlock it. The Model 3 is on when you get in, assuming you have the key card on you, and to put it into reverse or drive, you place that key card behind the cup holders. Turning it off, well, you just exit the car with the key card, close the door, and it's done. But definitely don't forget the card in the car, otherwise it'll just keep running. Oh, and your rental papers? Those are pretty much like any other car rental. Nothing new there, nothing digitized there. You still get this packet of papers that you want to keep with you and then have with you when you return the car. Normally when you get a rental, the car is not that nice. It's kind of beat up, it's old. It just gets you from point A to point B. But with this, I've really enjoyed actually driving the rental. And that's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot different than a typical rental, and I think you'll have that experience as well. As Hertz is just rolling out these Teslas into their fleet, there are still some limitations. Now this might not be for everybody for a few reasons. One is the price. Now the price of these rentals is about $200 and can go up from there for a day. Although I was very lucky to get my $72 day rental, so that was really great. But the price might be a little bit more expensive than you'd be willing to pay for a rental. And then of course there's the one-way limit. So if you were thinking to pick up the car in one location and then drive it to another location, depending on your plans, you wouldn't be able to do that in the Tesla. Also, depending on how far you're going, what kind of road trip you're doing, and what part of the world you're in, there might not be enough superchargers along your route, or it just might not make sense for your particular path. Might just take too long if you just want to get from point A to point B and point C and get back in time. Then it might not make sense depending on your needs. And the third reason this might not be for everybody is that it is a very different driving experience than most other cars. It does take some time if you've never driven a Tesla to get used to the onboard screen, to get used to all the controls being there, to get used to the door handles even, to get used to the driving experience, the torque. All those things are going to be different, and you're going to have to read up on how these things function before you get there, because in my experience, I didn't ask, but in my experience, there's not really a tutorial when you get there. Nobody tells you how to drive the car, how to open the car, how to work all the different functions of the car. Nobody tells you any of those things. You've got to kind of figure them out on your own. It is nice that Hertz gives you those emails beforehand so you can read up before you actually get to the car, which I highly suggest you do. But if you don't read up on those and you're just going in cold, going in blind into driving the Tesla, it might be a little bit more of a frustrating experience, or there might be a very steep learning curve in the beginning, and you might not want to go through that curve in a rental. So definitely a good idea to read up. And that might be one thing that limits you from getting a Tesla. You might not want to have that experience, might be a little bit intimidating, might be out of your comfort zone. But if all of those things aren't an obstacle for you, it definitely is a very different driving experience and a very, very fun driving experience. And that's not often you can say that about renting a car. Of course, you don't have to get gas, but you do have to charge up your Tesla, and you got to make sure to check on how much battery you have and make sure you've got enough range to get to your next destination or charging point. Of course, that comes with a cost, and the Tesla will show you how much the estimated cost is. But for the next few weeks, Hertz is offering free supercharging for all Tesla rentals. So that's a good deal and another incentive to rent a Tesla. So I'm just waiting for the car to charge up full now, and then I'm going to go drop it back off at Hertz. And you have a drop-off time like any other rental, of course, but just got to remember that charging is going to take 30 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes, depending on the weather outside and the charging station that you can find. So you just got to add that and calculate that into your return time. So you don't have quite as much time like if you were getting a gas car. You could just fill it up right outside of the airport and then just, fill up the tank, and that's like 5 minutes. And in case you're wondering how much it costs to charge up a Tesla, well, it's about $5, at least in the Washington, D.C. area. From 20% up to about 100% is going to cost about $5, $6, maybe $7, somewhere in that ballpark, to give you an idea of how much it costs to charge up the car versus getting gas, for example. But just make sure to add some extra time into your schedule, 30 or 40 minutes, to make sure that you have time to charge the car. And that's for supercharging stations. If you're charging from home or somewhere else, it's going to take longer than that. And at the moment, you can only really get a Model 3 from an airport, from a major airport in a major city in the US, and slowly starting in Europe. So if you were thinking you could just go to your regular nearby local Hertz and just pick up a Model 3, right now you can't. The representative that I talked to on the phone said that it will be about 6 to 7 months before we start seeing Model 3 EVs at regular or sort of local Hertz stations, ones that are basically outside of the airports, outside of Texas and California, where they have more EVs available for rental. Oh, and a few people were asking me, hey, did you get to pick the color? And I was like, no, you don't get to pick the color. Now, the color I happened to see online when I booked it was this black color. So it was a black Tesla, but I didn't think I would actually get a black Tesla. So maybe it'll show you the color when you're booking it, so you get to see maybe it's a red one or a white one, but you won't get to pick the color in most cases. Maybe when there are more Tesla Model 3s available at Hertz, you can pick the color that you want. Although in most rentals, you don't really get to pick the color, so I don't know if that's going to be a thing, but it seems like a lot of people were interested in that, so it might not be a bad way if people are interested in renting a Model 3 to make that optional. So just a free hint for you there, Hertz. The return process is pretty straightforward. You drop off the car, make sure you've got all of your things, hand over the key card, and it's done. Hertz sends you a receipt to your email, and there's not much else to it. And it is nice that there is an electric option now with rental cars. Before it had been pretty difficult, but it seems like now with Hertz, especially buying so many of these electric Model 3 cars, that there are going to be more options. If you want to rent electric, maybe you want to cut down on the amount of air pollution you make, or maybe you want to get a car that can be pretty zippy when you need it to be, or you just like all the electronics and the tech. Either way, it seems like we're going to get more EV options when it comes to rentals. At around $200, it's more expensive than your typical rental, so it might not be an everyday kind of thing or a long trip kind of thing, but from time to time, on occasion, or maybe just once, if you want to try out a Model 3, not a bad way to do it. So there you have it. That's how you can rent a Tesla from Hertz. And it is nice to see more EVs being available for rent, so you can use them as your rental car instead of getting a gas-powered car. If you just want to try a Tesla, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this experience. It is so nice just driving an electric vehicle, and it's just a really nice experience to have. It's definitely new if you're coming from a gas-powered car and you want to try out an EV. It's definitely a new experience, and it might just convince you, hey, maybe I should get into the EV world, or hey, maybe I gotta wait with my gas-powered car. But either way, it's been a really fun experience driving this car, getting to know the supercharging network of Tesla, and just being able to experience the EV world and being able to have a rental when I need a rental car. So all those things have been great. It's been a great experience. Let me know if you have any questions about renting a Tesla from Hertz down in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week, and I will see you in the next video. It's nice to see more EVs being available. Oh, it's cold. It's cold today. Oh, waiting for that wind to die down. It's cold.